English step by step, present perfect, continuous and simple, step 6. In this lesson I'm going to go through the answers to the practice exercise that you can find in the video step 5. So please make sure you finish those exercises before you watch this video. Now remember, click like if you'd like to see more videos like this, click subscribe if you'd like to check out the videos I've made before, and leave a comment below if you'd like to request a lesson. So let's go through exercise 1. The first one here is a question, and we need to use have. And then if you talk about married, then you have to say to be married. And in this case, it must be present perfect simple, so that would be the past participle been. How long have they been married? Now, the next one is a sentence with two parts. So the earth is dry. Now, if you talk about dry earth, then you're talking about rain. And you can see from the sentence that the first part must be negative. So we need to use hasn't, and then we need to decide, is it hasn't rained or hasn't been raining? Now, both are possible, but if you're talking about this week, then you're talking about something that continued for maybe 5, 6 or 7 days. So it's more natural to use the continuous form. So we'll use the continuous form with been and then raining. It hasn't been raining this week, so the earth is dry. Of course, you could also say it hasn't rained this week, but hasn't been raining sounds better to me. What about number 3? This is about a question, so it's how long have, and then in London. Now, we saw in a previous video that with the verbs live and work, you can use the continuous form or the simple form with no real change in meaning. So in this case, we'll use the continuous form, have you been living in London? But you can also use the simple form, how long have you lived in London? Now the next one, we can use the question with have, and then we have the word always. And if you remember in a previous video, I mentioned that if you use adverbs always and never, then you should use the simple form, the present simple form, which would give us the past participle lived. Have you always lived in London? Now the next one is about a vegetarian, and then we can see something about meat. So the verb must be eat. Yes, I'm working through these verbs here on the right hand side. So eat is the next one, and logically it must be negative because it's talking about a vegetarian. So it would be I haven't, and then eaten is the past participle. I haven't eaten meat for 3 years. You could also say I haven't been eating meat for 3 years. That's also possible. What about number 6? How long? Well, the next word must be have. How long have you? And then you're talking about a computer, so the best verb is have, and that leaves us with the past participle had. Now the next one has two parts. Now I realize now that there probably isn't enough information there to understand which verbs to use. So let's come back to this one once we've finished 8, 9 and 10. So French. So what verb should we use for French? I think teach is the natural choice here. Teach. So we can say she has, and then for many years. In this case, you could use the simple form or the continuous form. But I think if you say for many years, you have this clear idea of something continuing through time. So a continuous tense seems more natural and clearer. So let's use the continuous. She has been teaching French for many years. And then we can find another verb for her students, and the only one I can see which would fit really would be know. So in this case, she has. Now remember, there are some verbs that rarely or almost, yes, never use the continuous form, and this is one of them. She has known. So that's the past participle, and that gives us the present perfect simple form. She has known her students for many years. Now the next one, how long have you? Now again, this is like number 3, but we need a different verb, I think. Yes. Yeah, so let's choose a different verb, and that would leave us with been. How long have you been in this country? All right, so what do we have left? Well, we have listen. We haven't used listen. And I can see we can use listen in the first part of this sentence number 7. You have, and we can put it into the continuous form. You have been listening. And the other verb we haven't used is understand. And understand, like know, is another verb which is rarely used in the continuous form. So here, let's put it in the simple form with have, you, and then the past participle, irregular past participle, is understood. So there you have a sentence in which the first part is continuous and the second part is simple. You have been listening, but how much have you understood? So let's move on to practice exercise 2. And you can see it's about a mobile phone contract. And I think the only verb we can use would be I have had. Using the verb have. I have had this mobile contract for a year. Now, again, you can't say I have been having, because in this case, it's not a continuing activity. It's not an action that continues. It's I have had. Next one. I have never to be famous. Now, the only verb I can see that fits would be want. So let's put the past participle here. I have never wanted to be famous. And the next one is also with never. So he has never, and it's about alcohol, and the only verb is really drink. Now we can't use the continuous because we have the adverb never. So we need to make it into the simple form of the verb, which is he has never drunk. That's the irregular past participle. Next one. They are vegetarians. They have never, and again, irregular past participle of eat is eaten. Now in that case, again, we have the adverb never, so we can't put it into the continuous form. They have never eaten meat. Now the next one is I have never. Why some people carry guns. And I think the only verb that makes sense is understand. And the past participle of understand is understood. I have never understood why some people carry guns. Next one is about my parents. From the situation we can see that it could be a negative verb, and I think the only verb that fits in this case is see. So I have, and then we make it negative. I haven't seen my parents since the lockdown started. Yes, there is no other verb that fits this context. Number 7, 20 minutes for a bus. Now, in this case, we have, and then the only verb that's logical here is wait. And then it has to be continuous because we're talking about an activity that continued for 20 minutes. We have been waiting 20 minutes for the bus. Now the next one, since I left school. Now this is like number 6 because we have the word since, and it's talking about an exam. And if you talk about an exam, the only verb that really fits is sit, because if you do an exam, normally the most common verb is you sit an exam. Now this one here must be negative because you can't say I have sat an exam. No, I haven't sat. So you can see it's an irregular past participle. Sit changes to sat. I haven't sat an exam since I left school. The next one is about somebody feeling ill after eating something. So we could say, now in this case, the verb must be feel, because you feel ill or you feel sick. And in this case, we could say we could use the simple form of the verb, but I think it's more common and more natural to use the continuous form, because you're talking about a feeling that continued since he ate the fish. So George has been feeling ill since he ate the fish. Of course, you could say he has felt ill since he ate the fish, but I think normally people would tend towards the continuous form, as with number 7. Number 10, the last one, he's something in hospital for a week. Now the only verb left is be. You can see that up here, be, and we have to say he's still in hospital, so he has been in hospital. And of course, this verb to be can never be continuous. So that brings us to the end of practice exercise 2. So this brings us to the end of step 6 of the series on present perfect, continuous and simple. Be sure to watch the other videos in the series and check out the other series I have on my channel, and click like if you'd like to see more videos like this, more English lessons like this in the future.